When we think about tobacco, we think about lungs, we think about cancer, yellowing teeth, and hospital beds. For decades, public health campaigns have rightly hammered home a single message: smoking kills you. But there is a quieter, massive catastrophe happening right under your feet. A crisis that doesn't just destroy the human body, but systematically dismantles the very ecosystem that keeps our planet alive. Destruction begins long before a cigarette is lit. It starts in the soil. Tobacco is a deeply insecure, greedy crop. To maximize profit, massive tobacco corporations have shifted 90% of their cultivation to low and middle income developing countries. Why? Because land is cheap and environmental regulations are often tragically weak. To plant tobacco, you need space. Millions of hectares of ancient forests are cleared away to make room for vast agricultural monocultures. The practice of growing nothing but a single crop over a massive area in places like the Miobo dry forest area in Southeast Africa, spanning Malawi, Tanzania, and Zimbabwe, the results are devastating. In Malawi alone, it's estimated that up to 26% of all nationwide deforestation is driven by tobacco farming. But clearing the land is only half the battle. Once the tobacco leaves are harvested, they can't be shipped raw. They have to be cured or dried out. And how do farmers hit the massive curing bunts? By burning wood. According to data compiled by the WHO, roughly one entire tree is lost for every 300 cigarettes produced. Think about that the next time you see a carton of cigarettes. That carton represents a branch, a trunk, or a habitat gone forever. And what happens to the soil left behind? Tobacco is what the botanists will call a heavy feeder. It aggressively sucks vital nutrients like nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium out of the earth at rates far higher than standard food crops. To compensate, farmers saturate the fields with heavy hazardous chemical fertilizers and pesticides. Within just a few seasons, the land is spent. It becomes a barren wasteland completely stripped of its natural fertility. The industry simply packs up, moves to the next patch of pristine forest, and cuts it down and start the cycle all over again. We are living in an era of unprecedented global water scarcity, yet the tobacco life cycle guzzles a mind-boggling 22 billion metric tons of water every single year. Let's break that down to an individual level using data from a landmark life cycle assessment published in the Journal of Environmental Science and Technology. A single typical cigarette has a total water footprint of roughly 3.5 liters. Look at that data. Tobacco requires twice as much water to grow as corn and 10 times as much as cabbage. And where is this water being taken from? It's being pumped out of surface reservoirs and underground aquifers in low-income food deficit countries, regions where local populations are already facing severe droughts and desperately need that water to grow actual food. Worse still is what the industry pumps back into the environment. Tobacco manufacturing generates roughly 22 million tons of heavily contaminated chemical waste every year. This runoff is a toxic soup of ammonia, nicotine, hydrochloric acid, nitrates, and heavy metals. It bleeds directly into the local rivers and groundwater networks, poisoning aquatic ecosystems and permanently ruining drinking supplies for people living nearby. Once the tobacco is cured and the water is drained, the industry engine roars to life. 6 trillion cigarettes are manufactured globally every year. The climate impact of this supply chain is massive. The tobacco industry emits roughly 84 million metric tons of greenhouse gases annually. To put that number into perspective, the global tobacco industry's carbon footprint is roughly equal to 1/5 of the total CO2 produced by the entire commercial airlines industry each year. It emits more greenhouse gas than the entire industrialized nations like Austria, Israel, or New Zealand. And the environmental cost of a single consumer's habit is shocking. Study shows that over a lifetime of smoking, a single individual's tobacco consumption adds up to a personal carbon footprint of over 5 metric tons of CO2 equivalent. To offset the damage of just one heavy smoker, you will need to plant 132 tree seedlings and let them grow untouched for an entire decade. From the heavy plastics used in agricultural mulch to the fossil fuel burned by international shipping fleets distributing tobacco across the globe, the industry acts as a massive accelerator for global climate crisis. But the final act of this environmental tragedy happens right in our communities. When a smoker finishes a cigarette, they stamp out the butt. All too often, it's tossed into the sidewalk, dropped down to a storm drain, or flicked out of a car window. Out of the trillions of cigarettes smoked every year, an estimated 4.5 trillion cigarette butts are carelessly littered into the environment. This makes them by far the single most littered item on the planet Earth. There is a massive piece of corporate misinformation out there. Many people assume that cigarettes filters are made of biodegradable cotton or paper. They aren't. They are made of cellulose acetate, a type of synthetic plastic that takes up to a decade to fragment. When these trillions of plastic filters hit our streets and waterways, rainfall washes them out into the ocean. They comprise the second highest form of plastic pollution worldwide, right behind plastic bottles. And they aren't just inert plastic, they are tiny chemical weapons. A single cigarette butt contains the leftover residues of over 7,000 toxic chemicals, including heavy metals, arsenic, lead, and pure nicotine. Laboratory toxicology studies have yielded terrifying results. Soaking just one single cigarette butt in a liter of water creates a solution so toxic that it kills 50% of all marine and freshwater fish exposed to it within 48 hours. As these filters slowly fragment over 10 years, they don't disappear. They break down into millions of microscopic particles called microplastics. These microplastics absorb other ocean toxins, are eaten by small fish, move up the marine food chain, and ultimately end up right back on your dinner plate. For decades, the multi-billion-dollar tobacco cartel has successfully managed to keep its environmental destruction out of headlines. They have published glowing corporate sustainability reports that focused purely on their office buildings while completely omitting the devastating life cycle of the crop itself. They have shifted the massive multi-billion-dollar financial burden of cleaning up their toxic plastic trash entirely onto the shoulders of every taxpayer. But the tide is beginning to turn. Countries like France and Spain, alongside forward-thinking cities like San Francisco, are deploying a heavy legal weapon: extended producer responsibility legislation, guided by the foundational ecological law of the polluter pays principle. These governments are legally forcing tobacco corporations to foot massive bills for city cleanup operations and ecosystem restoration. Simultaneously, the World Health Organization is aggressively pushing international policymakers to treat cigarette filters exactly for what they are: completely unnecessary single-use plastics that carry zero proven health benefits, and to ban them outright. If you or someone you love is trying to quit smoking, remember this: your health is worth fighting for, but so is the health of the earth. Choosing to break free from tobacco isn't just a massive victory over your body, but it's a profound, active hand in saving our forests, preserving our clean water, and keeping toxic plastics out of the ocean. The crisis beneath our feet is real. It's time we finally clear the air. Thank you for watching. Be kind to subscribe and comment and share this video, and see you in our next video.